Well, welcome. My name is Peter Frank. We are about to start our webinar, 5 Ways to Engage Members with Your Website. This is brought to you by Concordia Technology Solutions. Again, my name is Peter Frank, and there's my lovely picture. I'm the manager of Concordia Technology Solutions. You've got my contact information there. Feel free to email me at any time. I always love talking with people who are working in churches and figuring out ways that we can support your ministry through the use of technology. My phone number is there. The 800 line will get you to our sales team, and they'll be happy to forward you on to me. So Concordia Technology Solutions is part of Concordia Publishing House. And just a little bit of history about us. We have been around since 1869, so that puts us at 146 years if I'm doing my math correctly. This here is our award-winning booth from the 1904 World's Fair. And as you can guess, ministry has changed quite a bit since that time. At this time, they're never thinking about anything like technology. But as the times have changed, so has Concordia Publishing House. And you can see here one of our cool Innovation Center rooms down on the third floor here, where we work to come up with innovative products to serve your ministry. So we've been developing church software since 1984. We've been working with churches for a long time, and as technology has changed, so have we. So one of our core products that we have here at Concordia Technology Solutions is Church 360 Unite. Church 360 Unite is a church website builder. Now, I want to clarify something. While we do sell Church 360 Unite, this webinar will be about the goals of engaging your members with the website, not about the features of Church 360 Unite. I do not want this to turn into a sales pitch, so I hope I won't go down that path. There's a lot of great things that you can do with Unite, but these features are not exclusive to Church 360 Unite. And so even if not everything is available with your current website platform, I think you'll still be able to learn a lot of the same principles and apply it in your setting. So I just want to make that clear. This is not a sales pitch. There will be a slide at the end that tells you how you can get started with Church 360 Unite, but we'll get into that then. So let's get started. So does this look familiar to you? A lot of little post-it notes and pins on a church bulletin board. I don't know if I've ever been in a church that has not had one of these bulletin boards right front and center when you walk in. Now, some of them are a lot neater than this. I know at our church it's a lot nicer than just a bunch of papers put up there. But there's something about this that just doesn't sit well with me anymore. The problem is that bulletin boards have been replaced. People walk past bulletin boards. Usually the only people who are looking at a bulletin board are the people who are sitting around and waiting for somebody else. Generally, it's not a destination within the church. Additionally, churches are doing so many different things now that it can't all be put on a bulletin board. And so bulletin boards have been replaced with church websites. So what are some of the advantages to a church website? Well, first off, websites are easier to update. And my wife is a teacher, and one of her tasks is to maintain her bulletin boards in her classroom. And when I see what she does to maintain those, that's a lot of work. Now, I know a church bulletin board is not quite the same. It doesn't have to be as artistic and fancy, but it still takes some time to get the paper printed and posted and design everything. And websites in general are much easier to update because as soon as you type it in, you click save, it's ready to go. Websites are also much more accessible. You can access the website apart from the church building. And I know that sounds very simple and self-explanatory, but it's true. A bulletin board only reaches people who are at the church. Websites are better for targeted messages. You only have a limited amount of space with the church bulletin board, and so you have to put things on there that are applicable to just about everyone. Well, that's not how a lot of the messages in a church go. They need to be communicated to very specific groups of people, and a website is perfect for that. It allows you to target it just to the audience that you want to reach. Lastly, and this one might be the most surprising on the list, websites are a place where you can build community. You can have interaction on your website among your members, among your visitors, with your members and your visitors, ideally. That's much more than a bulletin board. Now, granted, you could put a coffee pot next to a bulletin board and have some community there, but it's not quite the same. Now here's an example that I found live on the web the other day, and I don't want to pick on this church, but some churches have not gotten the memo that websites are not supposed to be like bulletin boards. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That is our focus. Your church website should be more than an online bulletin board. So we're going to look at 5 different ways that you can use your church website to engage the members of your congregation. And again, this is regardless of what kind of platform you use. Not all of these things will be able to be done on all the different website platforms, and there are hundreds out there. You know, Church 360 Unite is the one that we sell, but many churches use WordPress or Weebly or Wix or many of other free options. There's a lot of paid options. There's custom solutions. So don't worry if you can't use all of the information in here. Again, it's going to be the guiding principles. So first off, 5 ways. First way is give members exclusive access on your website. And what I mean by that is that there is a lot of information on church websites that do not apply to everybody. So we did a webinar a few months back about how to engage your visitors with your church website. A lot of websites focus on church visitors, which is good. That's a great way to draw people into your congregation. But what about those members? They don't need to know exactly when service times are. I mean, they need to know that, but they probably already know that before they go to your website. So what kind of content do they need to know? Well, a lot of it has to do with things that you don't want to make public to everybody. So as you're starting off a new Bible study and it's led by a person in the congregation, a lay person, you're not going to want to put their contact information on your website. So that's what I mean when I talk about exclusive access to members. What kind of content do you not want to be publicly available, but you still want to be available to your members? So let's talk about a couple different examples. So first off, giving exclusive access to your members will allow them to update their contact information. When you have a profile that you can log into, you've got the user settings, and often you can tie that back to your church management software. Maybe I shouldn't say often, but that can be done, where your website can be a direct connection to your church management software where you can have members log in. If they get a new cell phone number, they can go in and change that. If they move, they can go in and put in their new address. And so they can share that information from your church website without having to call the church office or send an email or stop by. And that can be done can be useful in a much larger scale. So once you have that, your website can be a place where members can log on and view the member directory. Those wonderful printed directories that have all the families listed and the contact information in the back, they're really great to give to members, but they're a lot of work. And they usually aren't done on a very regular basis because of the amount of work. I don't know if I've ever heard of a church who has done it more than every 2 years, and often it's a lot less frequently than that. So your church website can be that hub for your member directory, where your members can log in, see families, see their pictures, put faces with names. They can also see that contact information that is very confidential. You wouldn't want to put that on a public site, but at the same time, it is necessary to share with people. And that, again, goes back to building that engagement, that community on your website. I mentioned this already, but viewing protected pages. So there's a lot of different things that go on in a church that may not be for public consumption. Your budget information, your meeting minutes, again, contact information for members. Some of it may just not be applicable to your visitors, that you don't want them to see that. So if you're in the middle of a planning stage and you're throwing out ideas, that's not something that you want to give access to everybody, but it'd be better to have it on your website than email a constantly changing file across a group of people. But having a password-protected side of your site is very useful so that you could show that information to members that does not need to be seen by the general public. So that's the first thing. That's number one. Let's move on to number two. And this one we could do a whole webinar on. Most of these we could do a whole webinar on as well. But sharing relevant and timely content. So that really hits at the heart of the church bulletin board. Why you would have a bulletin board in your church is that you want to share information that's relevant and timely. Well, bulletin board can easily get out of date as things occur where you have an event that happens on, a specific Sunday. On Sunday, July 26th, we are going to do this. Well, come July 27th, that is out of date, and you no longer want to have that taking up space on your bulletin board. With the church website, that content can be constantly updated automatically so that the newest information always shows at the top. So we're going to take a look at a few different examples of how you can share relevant and timely content. First off, a pastor's blog. And I may not want to just go in so far as to say pastor's blog, but those are some of the best. It could just be a general church blog. So what's nice about blogs is that when you tie them to RSS feeds, you can subscribe to a blog. Users or members of your congregation can subscribe to the blog so that as soon as something is updated, they can receive an email and know to go to that. It's also great for news and announcements as new events are planned or something changes. You put that up on your blog. It's always sorted in the order that it has appeared, so the newest and most timely content is always at the top. But a pastor's blog is really great for sharing information that you may not want to share from the pulpit. We're going to be having an ebook coming out later on this year about how pastors can use blogging to share information with their church, to share their views on recent events, to share their notes on Bible studies, things that don't fit in the sermon, things that we may be grateful don't fit in the sermon because they're interesting, but you could really dig into them. So pastor's blog is one way to share relevant and timely information. Sermons. Now, this may seem like a no-brainer to put your sermons on your website, but the way in which you put it on there is really flexible. So having the text of a sermon is really good because then members who have been listening intently but can't take it all in the time at Sunday worship, maybe they're like me and have a 2-year-old sitting in the pew next to us, and that always provides some fun distractions. Posting your sermons online allows you to go back and skim through them and find the information that you're looking for. Maybe there's a way the pastor phrased it that really hit home. Having that on your website allows the members to go back in and take a look at that. You can also have that in different formats like audio or video. And that's a great way to really be more engaging, and not just for members, for visitors too, but to be able to go back and review that sermon, or maybe you're sick and you miss a Sunday, and while live streaming may not be available at your church, you could go back and listen to a previous sermon and be fed by God's Word through the voice of your pastor. Having your sermons is a great way to continue that conversation out after Sunday worship. News and announcements. Again, another no-brainer that comes with the idea of a church bulletin board. But think about this for a second. When you have the church bulletin board, or maybe you have an actual bulletin or a newsletter, you are again bound by space. And there's a lot of things that come up in a church that you want to share with your members. Events, Bible studies, changes to the worship calendar, things that are going on corporately at the church that you want to share that can't fit into the Sunday bulletin or can't fit into the short announcement time at the service. If you change it so that your website is the core location for all of your news and announcements, then you can use those other mediums to announce just the things that affect everybody in the congregation. So I'll give you an example. Men's Bible studies. They're often a smaller group, 10 people, 12 people maybe. If there's a change in the schedule, there might be some benefit to announcing that in the church that says, okay, we're going to be meeting a half hour early this Wednesday night. But that takes up valuable worship time and really only applies to about 50% of your members who might be going to the men's Bible study. The women wouldn't be included in that. And for the people who are not able to attend, that really doesn't apply to them. Well, that is something that can be done on your website. You don't have to take the time and energy to put it into your weekly announcements, into your weekly newsletter or bulletin. It could just be stored on your website, and as you make that your common practice, that all of your news and announcements are on your website, your members will be in the habit of going there first. So that cuts down on a lot of time, a lot of space, and still gets the information conveyed to the people that they need it. So again, there's a lot that we could talk about with news and announcements, but think about it in terms of being the single source of news and announcements, having your website being that one source. Now this kind of goes back to the first point, prayer requests. There's a lot of things that we want to pray about for our members that are very private, health concerns, family issues. People like to be able to pray for others, but they need to know about what the prayer requests are, and you can't be putting that on your public website. There's a lot of good reasons to not put prayer requests on your website, but more than anything, it's to protect the privacy of your members. So having a website where your members can log on and interact behind password protected sites will allow you to have that central hub for prayer requests. And then you can keep them up there for a long time. You're not limited by an 8.5 and 11 double-sided piece of paper for your prayer requests, or in many cases smaller than that. You can have all of your prayer requests and put the date when it was added and just have it flow through so that you can see the complete collection, and members who have the time to sit and pray for everyone can scroll through that list and continue to pray. In addition to that, you could add updates to that and show how God is working in the lives of your people. So we prayed for the Smith family who was struggling financially, and then you can post an update later on. Praise be to God, John has received a new job and has started this week. And so you can show that the Word of God at work in the lives of your people through the answers to prayer. And that's something that's really hard to maintain in any other format, in a print format or an announcement format. It can take up a lot of time to share all of the updates, but put them on your website that people can go and pray. On the same kind of vein there, community care requests. And I wasn't sure exactly how to phrase this because this really encompasses a lot of different things. I know at our congregation, we've got a lot of people who are very good at sending requests for help. So if somebody is in need financially, they could go and they could contact the church and say, we're really struggling this month. Is there anybody that could help us? Or maybe, the food budget is tight and they just need somebody to cook a few meals for them. Well, they can contact the church office, and that could be emailed out to the congregation. But you could also have a central location on your site where there are community care requests. Now, again, you have to be very careful to be confidential about certain things, even more so than just being concerned about having that posted for the public. There's certain requests that you may not want your entire congregation to know, but there are plenty that you could ask for help and keep it anonymous, but just have that central location on your site where members can log in and see that we have a family who's requesting assistance moving. And it doesn't have to say the name or the location, but they can then follow up with the church office and say, yeah, I'm available that day, I can help move. So community care requests is another way. All right. Going on to number 3, encourage participation in groups. And this is kind of a broad category. We're going to look at some very specific groups, but members more and more are using things like social media, like Facebook groups, to interact outside of the church building. So to talk to each other, to give updates, to give calendar changes, event changes. And your website should be that hub for it. While social media is great, Facebook is great, it's kind of outside of the church's spectrum. And so you'd have to maintain, whoops, I'm just getting a note that says that there's a background music playing and people having a hard time hearing you. Let me see what's going on to that real quick. Pardon me just one second. There is background music. Well, is everybody having trouble hearing me? Or if I'm okay, please let me know. If I'm okay for the majority, I do apologize for that. I'm not hearing any music. All right. Well, it looks like most of the people aren't having any problems, so I'm going to continue going. I do apologize for the person who called in to let my team know that there was background music. So we will continue going. I'm sorry about that. So let's get back on it. Encourage participation in groups. I'm going to start over a little bit. Pardon me for losing my train of thought there. So groups online. Your website should be a hub for groups to come in and participate. While social media is great, it is outside of the church and is not tied in with everything that your church may be doing. So your website should be the hub for that. Let's look at some specific instances where groups can participate. Small groups in Bible studies. This is a great place. Small groups and Bible studies are a key part of the ministry at the local congregation where members can participate, study God's Word, get to know each other better, support each other, and that is often done outside of the church building and done in members' homes. You can see from that picture there, that kind of looks like someone's living room. And that's really a great way to kind of let your guard down and become just the family of God interacting. Well, there's things that the church needs to know about and be aware of so that they can help other people get integrated within the group. So if you are an open small group where you're welcoming more people to join, but you are only meeting at your house and you've got a Facebook group where you talk about it, the chances of others being involved without a personal invitation from a member of the group are very slim. But if that small group is on your church website and your church office staff knows about it and can share any updates and say, okay, well, let me go look at the small group calendar, and they find it and say, okay, well, they just changed the meeting time. They're now meeting on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, and I'll be sure to let them know that you're going to be interested in joining them. Having that on your church website allows for those opportunities for everyone to stay involved, stay communicated, still keep it in that same natural way of having it in your church or out of your church building and in the homes of your people, but it's still tied in with your congregation. Ministry teams are another way to do that. Those are a little bit different where they're more on the move. So they may not be going to somebody's house, but they may be going out into the community. And so they're interacting on Facebook or other means and keeping people up to date. And again, that's outside of the church. Churches, not, I don't want to say control, but out of the church's scope where they can't see that. And so having a ministry team on your website where it says, okay, we're going to be going down to the nursing home and here are the things that we'd like you to bring as we begin to read stories and share music with the residents there, and they can have that list. Another great one is music ministries, and I've heard some pretty fantastic stories about how music ministers are using group interactions on websites. So one way is by posting the upcoming songs, and so they do a lot of contemporary music, and so they go and they find the music video on YouTube and they embed it into their group's page on the site, and so the members of the contemporary music team will go on there each week, watch the music videos, get a feel for it, and then they've got the actual music on there so they can begin practicing before their Wednesday night practice time. It gives everybody a chance to stay up to date, and then it gives the music leader kind of a record of what they've played recently so they can scroll back and see, okay, we've played that 3 times this month. Maybe we'll go with something different. Church boards, and I couldn't find a good background image for church boards, so I thought wouldn't it be great if church board meetings were in a coffee shop like this. This is probably a little bit more of a prayer group, but thinking of church boards, I'm on our board of elders, and we have a lot of paper that goes around in those meetings, and different reports from our pastor and our vicar, and you know, the meeting agenda and the minutes from the last time. It'd be great to keep those things in one central location online. You can save the paper, save the time of printing and copying that, but keep it kind of behind the scenes where only the people on the board need to know. Or you can say, okay, members of the Board of Elders, log in here, go to our elders page, which only you have access to, and go ahead and download the agenda for today. Next up, number 4, displaying the church calendar. So having a central location for the church calendar is key, and that's one of our primary things that we hear about from churches when they're looking at redoing their website is we want one central location for a church calendar. And the website is the best place to do that. So with the church website where you can have your members log in, you can separate between public and private calendars, meaning that there are certain things you want everybody who comes to your website to know. You want them to know about your worship events. You want them to know about your fellowship events when you're having a church picnic. Not everybody who comes to your website needs to know that the elders meet the last Monday night of every month. They don't need to know that the church staff is having their weekly meeting Wednesday mornings. So having a central location for your calendar that can be filtered by the different views is really important to contextualize that for the right people. That kind of ties into number 2 with the timely and relevant content, but goes back into the actual events. Related to that is that as you have a central location for your church calendar, you can share the calendar management with your members, with the people of your congregation. So no longer is the office manager having to be the one to post the board meetings on there or updating it when the leader of the board needs to change the time. That could be that person who's leading it going in and saying, okay, I'm going to go and update that calendar. So that takes some time and effort out of the church office staff while still keeping the master church calendar up to date. And of course, that goes to the right people. You wouldn't want to have everybody be able to access every single calendar, but you can do those things. You can set those certain permission levels to say, okay, Steve, you are controlling the Board of Elders calendar on our website, and give them access to do that. The last one on here, number 5, is personalizing mass communication. And I think that most churches have a way to email their entire congregation as a whole with different updates. I know there's other services, some that we offer in terms of sending phone calls to everybody in the congregation. And that's really good for certain events that everybody needs to hear about. But there's a lot of information flow down that needs to be just sent to certain people. So certain mailing lists. I'm going to go back to that Board of Elders. We get a lot of great communication about the Board of Elders through our church office, and that's fantastic that we have that. However, that doesn't always have to come through the church office. It can come directly from the Board of Elders and still be part of the overall mailing list. So when you have your groups participating on your website, those become automatically individual mailing lists that can be sent to. So if somebody outside of that group needs to be able to mail it, if somebody from the church office needs to say, heads up Board of Elders, I need to tell you this, they could go in and select that specific mailing list and send an email. They're not having to be the ones to manage the list. They'll still have access to it, but it's the group leaders who can manage that list themselves. Another way to personalize mass communication is through event reminders. So having your master calendar on your church website where members can subscribe or register for a certain event, say, I'm going to be attending this Bible study. You can have those automatic reminders sent out to just those people who have signed up for that event so that you don't have to worry about sending an email, remembering to send it, and then actually going and doing it. That can be done automatically, and again, coming right back to your church website. So the reminder sends it to the people, and the people click on it, and they're taken back to your site as opposed to a third-party service. It's all within that one central location. And lastly, kind of going back to what I mentioned, group notifications, where individual groups can update their section of the website, update their own calendars, their own events, and have it automatically notify. You can have separate message boards for that group, and when somebody posts in that, the group is informed by email saying, hey, we've already, somebody has posted a message in this group, go here to check it out. It's very similar to many of the tools that are out there that are apart from your website. Reel that into your website, and it's just one more reason for members to go on and interact. Well, sorry to rush those last few things there. We're just about out of time, but in summary, your website is the fastest way to communicate the latest, greatest, and most relevant information to your congregation. Your website should be a reflection of your church. You can make your website as unique as your congregation. So I hope as you heard these different steps, heard these different ideas, you heard a lot of different things that can apply to your church. I'm guessing not everyone here, I'm guessing there's not even a single person here where everything applies to your congregation. Churches are so unique and they do things in a variety of different ways that there's not a one-size-fits-all way of doing church communication. And that's okay. Your church website should match your church in the uniqueness that it is so that it can communicate the information that you need to the people of your congregation. Enhance your communication with your members while they're away from the church building. Step away from that whole idea of a bulletin board where they have to be physically present to get that information, or where they have to receive the bulletin or hear the announcements at the beginning or end of the church service. Your website should be the way to communicate with your members when they're at home or when they're in the office or when they're just away from your church building. Well, I hope you enjoyed that presentation. I know we covered a lot. If you've got feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. A few housekeeping items before we end. You can download the ebook, 5 Ways to Make Your Church Website More Than an Online Bulletin Board. It's a lot of the same content that we covered, but it's specifically related to Church 360 Unite. And here comes the sales pitch. Oops, wrong direction. If you'd like to learn more about keep hitting the wrong button. If you'd like to learn more about Church 360 Unite, you can go to church360unite.com and see how that tool can be used to help you engage your members. So lastly, just a reminder about my contact information. We are Concordia Technology Solutions, part of Concordia Publishing House. My name again is Peter Frank, and I'm the manager of the department. You can contact me at my email address there or my phone number, or you can also contact our software sales team, and they'll be happy to show you how our products can help you engage your members with your church website. Well, thank you again for joining us today. I'm really pleased with the response. I'd love to hear any feedback that you have for me. If you've got any other ideas of things that you're doing at your church that I didn't mention, I'd love to hear those. So please just shoot me an email and let me know. We will be posting this recording on our YouTube channel, and the slide deck will be available too on SlideShare. So be sure to check out our website, our social media, and we'll have links to all of that there. Once again, thank you for attending. Have a great day.